Good morning, Tech fam. It's Tuesday, October 14th, and you're listening to FLYTECH Daily, the podcast that makes your morning smarter in 10 minutes or less. I'm Nick.
And I'm Michelle.
Here are the top 5 tech stories that you don't want to miss.
For our first topic, teens are pranking parents using AI and homeless imagery, and it's getting dangerous.
For our second topic, Apple's next MacBook chip roadmap just leaked.
For our third topic, Apple pivots from Vision Pro to smart glasses.
For our fourth topic, Google's Pixel Fold 10 is heavier but still slick.
And for our fifth and final topic, ChatGPT is now stressing itself for political bias.
All right, Michelle, let's fly. For our first topic, we've seen AI use fake presidents, celebrities, even weather maps, but now it's being used by teenagers to prank their parents, and it's creating a real panic.
So what's the viral trend? Kids are using Snapchat's AI to generate images of a homeless-looking man and telling their parents he's in the house, using the bathroom, fixing the sink, and even taking a nap in their bed.
They record their parents freaking out, sometimes even calling the police, then post it to TikTok for the likes.
But the consequences go far beyond social media clout. Police departments say these pranks are tying up emergency resources and could even provoke SWAT responses.
So Michelle, what's the takeaway for our prank-loving listeners?
It might start off as a funny AI prank, but when it freaks out parents, ties up 911 lines, and turns vulnerable people into the punchline, that's when the joke goes a little too far. For our second topic, we've got a sneak peek at Apple's future Macs, and the M1 chip roadmap is starting to look like a power user's dream.
According to Apple Insider, testing is underway for the M5 MacBook Pro, likely launching at the end of this year, followed by M5 MacBook Airs in early 2026.
Then it's the M5 Pro and the M5 Max chips, which will anchor the next-gen MacBook Pro line with macOS Tahoe 26.3.
Apple's also preparing updated Mac Mini, iMac, and even Mac Studio machines into summer 2026. And yes, an M6 MacBook Pro with OLED and a slimmer chassis is on the horizon too.
So Nick, what's the takeaway for our MacBook watchers?
Apple chip machine is rolling steady, and if you're eyeing a Mac upgrade, a real leap might not be this year, but the one right after. For a third topic, Apple is shifting gears again in the spatial computing race, and the Apple Vision Pro sequel just hit a red light.
Instead of a cheaper Vision headset, Apple is putting its energy into smart glasses that can compete with Meta's new AI Ray-Bans.
2 glasses models are now in development. One can launch by 2027, with the other one racing to catch Meta's momentum even sooner.
They'll likely lean heavily on voice, health tracking, and AI-powered features, even though Apple still needs to finish rebuilding Siri to power them properly.
So Michelle, what's the takeaway for Vision Pro skeptics?
Apple may be shelving the headset for now, but it's not giving up the faceware game. It's just betting the lightweight glasses will win over full-blown goggles. For our fourth topic, the Pixel Fold 10 is here with a brighter screen, bigger battery, and even wireless QI2 charging.
It's also heavier, a smidge thicker at 10.8 millimeters folded. It's chunkier than the Samsung new Z Fold and other ultra slim rivals.
But reviewers say it still feels slim enough in your hand. Opened up, it's just 5.2 millimeters thick, thinner than most tablets.
And Google seems to be banking on software polish and hardware improvements to outweigh the whole 2 phones taped together vibe.
So Nick, what's the takeaway for our foldable phone fans?
It may not win the thinnest trophy, but the Pixel Fold 10 shows Google's folding game is maturing. And for a fifth and final topic, OpenAI just gave ChatGPT a political polygraph to measure how biased it is on hot button issues.
They tested responses on 100 controversial topics like immigration and abortion, using prompts from both liberal and conservative angles.
GPT-5 models were 30% less biased than earlier versions, though the most charged liberal prompts still had the biggest sway.
It's all part of OpenAI's push to show that ChatGPT doesn't lean left or right, even as government agencies crack down on so-called woke AI.
So Michelle, what's the takeaway for our MAGA listeners and the liberal listeners?
Bias is still a bug in AI, but OpenAI's latest models are starting to sweat under pressure and hold their ground a little bit better. All right, Nick, let's wrap up these takeaways.
For our first story, AI pranks might get you TikTok views, but they could also get your parents calling 911.
For our second story, Apple M5 Macs are on the runway, but the real innovation lifts off with the M6.
For our third story, Apple's betting big on glasses, not goggles, to win your face in the AI wearable war.
For our fourth story, the Pixel Fold 10 might be the thick king, but it still folds with style.
For our fifth and final story, GPT-5 is flexing objectivity, even when the questions get spicy. And that's a wrap for another FLYTECH Daily, the podcast that makes your morning smarter in 10 minutes or less, or it could be the afternoon depending on when we post this. Hit follow, drop a 5-star review because that's the only review we'll accept.
We'll be back here soon. Until next time.
Peace.